like you mentioned, I did an internship with Kraft Sports Group in college. No one ever talks about that part of my life. Um, and I just kind of like fell into that. And it was basically just like the Patriots have this like outdoor mall called Patriot Place that's like connected to the stadium. And my job was literally just to walk around with an iPad and ask people about their experience at Patriot Place. It was like a 5-minute, 10-minute long survey, and I had it memorized by the end of the summer.
This episode of the Smart Athlete Podcast is brought to you by Solpre. If you're active at all, whether you're running or simply out walking for the day, you've probably experienced one of the number one problems that active people have, and that's chafing. Solpre's all-new, all-natural anti-chafe balm solves that problem while feeding your skin the vital nutrients it needs to be healthy. If you'd like to stop chafing once and for all and treat your body right, go to solpre.com to check out the anti-chafe balm today. That's SOLPRI.com. Welcome to the Smart Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Funk. My guest today has the running legs I wish I had. He's a sub 4-minute miler, qualified for the Olympic marathon trials both in 2016 and 2020. Currently working at Tracksmith, where he's the senior community manager, coaching a number of athletes, I think a couple hundred from what I saw, and then also building a community of runners, which we're definitely going to talk about. Welcome to the show, Lou Serafini.
Hey, Jesse. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for spending the time this afternoon. But like we said before we got going, you still got work to do for the rest of the day. So I always appreciate people taking the time out of the day to, hang out with me, spend an hour, chat running. Although a lot of people aren't also working and running and building a running community. So sometimes it's a divergence from their everyday, whereas this is probably more closely resembles your regular workday.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, it's always flattering to get these kinds of requests. So I try to make time for them when they rarely come along. But yeah, no, it's nice to come on and, like you said, just talk some running and talk community, and that's my job. So yeah, I love when it overlaps.
Well, it seems like you've done a number of, I kind of looking at your LinkedIn, you've done a number of jobs that seemingly seem to lead almost pretty well to where you are now. Like the series of jobs, I think you were for a very brief period of time working at New England, the Patriots, and then moving on from there, and then eventually working at a retail running store, and then on to Tracksmith. It's all like a little bit encapsulated in the same kind of platform, as opposed to like one of the guests I spoke with this morning for me, but last week for the listener. He has a shoe company, and he's been like all over them. He's done like everything. So stand-up comic at one point, and he had a TV show where he like helped people diagnose computer problems in the 90s, and he's been an internet marketer and just all over the place. But it seems like so far your career is a little bit more well encapsulated in kind of like marketing-ish and running.
I'm glad that it seems like that. That's definitely not how it felt. But yeah, I don't know. Like you mentioned, I did an internship with Kraft Sports Group in college. No one ever talks about that part of my life. And I just kind of like fell into that. And it was basically just like, the Patriots have this like outdoor mall called Patriot Place that's like connected to the stadium. And my job was literally just to walk around with an iPad and ask people about their experience at Patriot Place. It was like a 5-minute, 10-minute long survey, and I had it memorized by the end of the summer. So it wasn't really, it was the only internship I could get that summer in college, but I'm a big sports fan. So it was cool I watched Tom Brady walk by me one time. That was kind of cool. It's very tall. But yeah, I mean, this wasn't the career path that I like kind of set out for when I graduated from college. I just kind of wasn't enjoying my day to day. I was working at a PR firm, which was really fulfilling. And I liked my boss and I liked the company, but it just, I didn't feel super happy. So I just kind of fell into that job at Heartbreak, managing their retail store. And I spent a long time there. And then Tracksmith reached out and was like, we're building a running community. We need someone to manage the store. And it was almost just kind of like it clicked. I was like, oh, like community, like that's what I do. Like I didn't even know that was like a job or like a thing that I could do. But what they had laid out for me was basically everything that I had been doing. So when you look back at it, yeah, it looks like a perfect like trajectory. But at the time, I don't want to say I was lost, but I think I could have went down like any number of paths, and just kind of happened to land here. So,
well, it's like it doesn't seem like you've done this. I'm kind of doing it for you in this particular case, but it's like sometimes it's easier to look backwards and see things with clarity and be like, oh, well, of course it was leading here. And, because you kind of like, it's a little easier to make up the narrative when you're looking backwards than it is to like try to look forwards and tread the path and like say, this is the exact path of how I'm going to get to such and such place. But yeah, that happens with a lot of guests I have, where it's like they go, you're thick in the woods and you're like, I don't have any. I mean, we can both relate to this, running cross country and running through like wooded courses, and you're like, where the hell is this going to pop out? Like, I have no idea. And all you do is you take the turns that are flagged, you just keep running as hard as you can, and eventually you'll pop out. And then, the finish line will show up sometime. So it's like, I don't know. I stopped framing stuff so much regarding running in life just because I don't, I'm not on a team anymore. College is a decade behind me. But still internally, I feel like the metaphors of running can apply to life so many times. It's like all those little lessons from such a complex yet simple sport.
yeah. I mean, I think that's why a lot of runners are so fond of the sport. It keeps us centered, it keeps us focused, and it's really, really relatable, like you said. So, I mean, the big thing for me too, just like in terms of my career, was like, I just think it's really important to meet people, form relationships, and just like say yes to opportunities when they're in front of you. I think I went to Boston College, which is like, it was a great school. I had a ton of fun. A lot of my friends and teammates and colleagues there like had a plan from the moment they stepped onto campus, like they were going to be a doctor or go into finance. Like they knew exactly the steps that they wanted to take to get to where they wanted to go. And I've never been like that. So oftentimes I did feel like lost in the woods on a cross country course, like I don't know what I'm going to do or where I'm going to be. And at times it can feel stressful and scary. And the thing that just kind of clicked for me, in the first couple of years after I graduated, was just like, just keep meeting people, keep talking to people, keep listening, keep learning. And if you do that, like doors kind of can start to open for you. So if anyone else that's listening to this is like kind of struggling, to figure out what they want to do or to find opportunities, just, reach out to people, have conversations, buy someone a cup of coffee, like that kind of stuff goes a long way. So.
Well, and, I know for you listening, I don't know how old you are because I can look at the analytics and look at the age spread and stuff, but you in particular, I don't know. You, the listener, not you, Lou.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say, I turned 30 like 4 days ago.
So. Yeah, I was like, you're two
yeah.
years younger than me.
Yeah.
But it's like thinking about saying yes and opportunities and things. Like we're both, I guess, early 30s now. You've turned 30, but it's like the age part doesn't matter, even though I think both of us are in some ways kind of settling in a little bit into careers, which a lot of people are at this age. There are some people that aren't. And I've spoken to those people on the podcast. So, if you're listening to this episode and you've listened to other ones, subscribe and all that good stuff, and go check out some other ones. But the consensus I get from people that take these kind of winding paths is like, you don't necessarily know when the thing's gonna open up. It's like when the right thing's gonna come along. Like, I mean, taking like the gentleman I mentioned earlier, Steven Sashin from last week, he's done so many different things, and a lot of it has just been like saying yes. Like he has this company, this shoe company now, and he was telling me that he had basically been retired for like 9 years before starting the shoe company, and it was like almost an accident. It was something he was interested in after reading Born to Run, and they're like zero drop, like sandal kind of things. And it was like a personal interest, but then other people wanted it, so he like started producing them, and then it just kind of snowballed. He went from having a TV show helping people with computers to having a shoe sandal company. Like there's no straight line in that path. And he's, I think, middle to late 50s now. I think that's right. So it's like you just, no matter where you are age wise, if you continue that process, like you were talking about, saying yes and talking to people, like you're probably going to wind up in a way different place than you thought, but hopefully like a fulfilling place.
Yeah, and that's the other half. It's like making sure you're doing something that makes you happy. It's like it's really simple. Like I think if you follow your passions, like you're gonna end up, going to work excited about work as opposed to dreading it. So that's definitely the other half of it for sure.
And that's where I kind of think I'm like, I've worked to try to work my way back here with like my company and trying to get related back to like the running community and endurance community a little more. Even though the company isn't strictly speaking have to be running related, just kind of my particular bend. So I kind of steer the boat that direction. But I find that people like us that are really into running and have been for a long time, it's like sometimes it's just an itch that's hard to scratch when you get beyond a certain point, where it's like you're post college. In your case, you're fast enough to try to make the Olympics and do the Olympic trials and stuff. But many people, well, I know, but still, like it's that's still like an objective goal that you can train for, right? Like I guess I could train for it, but realistically, that's probably not that's probably not an attainable goal for me. So many of us end up floating around like, well, what the hell do I do now? But I often find those kind of people trying some way to like wind their way back to a running related kind of profession, just to have some like tangential grab on that experience that they grew up with.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely like, I don't know. I know a lot of people that keep running close to their lives in some capacity, whether it's work or joining a running club or something just as simple as like signing up for a race. Like I've so many friends and colleagues, people that ran collegiately or in high school that kind of like lose the sport for a number of years and then come back to it later in life. And then on the flip side of that, people that didn't run, but maybe played like another sport or didn't, but then find it later in life. And it's kind of cool to see those two types of people kind of collide. And yeah, running can be super meaningful to a lot of different people in a lot of different ways.
So I want to dig in deeper to like, so what your job actually is at Tracksmith, but I want to take a divergence a little bit because you're talking about people coming to running later in life. You had a tweet about this. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the Twilight 5000 series or Twilight 5000 races. I don't know that I understood the entire scope of it, but we're taking people and doing track 5Ks as races. So you're probably like seeding out times and having people self-seed into groups and then breaking them out into whatever, 20, 30 people at a time for a race, something like that.
Yep.
So how does that all come together? Because, I think somebody replied to your replied to your tweet about it, talking about not, being excited to do it, and you talking about people never having been on the track or let alone raced on the track before. How does the genesis of that come about? How was the experience? I think it already happened, unless I'm wrong. And then you did some pacing there as well.
Yeah. So, so Twilight 5000, it's cool to like look at it now and see how it's kind of evolved over the years. So when I've been a Tracksmith for about 4.5 years, and now I kind of oversee like all of our community team, and we kind of focus on things a little bit more broadly. But when I first started, I was like hyper focused on the Boston community. That's where our only retail store is, and that's where we're based, and we just really wanted to form a strong community there. So we do run clubs, a Wednesday evening workout that's like speed or tempo, and then a Sunday long run. And I just felt like, I guess it would have been, was it 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago? I think it was my second summer with Tracksmith. Things were just feeling like a little stale in the summer, which makes sense when you think about it, right? Like people go on vacation. There's not a lot of races to train for because it's hot. Maybe you're like starting the early seeds of like a fall marathon build. But generally it's a quieter time for racing. And I felt our workout groups were thinning a little bit. And so I was just sitting in the lounge one day and I was like, let's just mix it up a little bit. And I like created a Facebook event. It was just for like a free summer 5K on the Charles River, which is totally flat for those people that aren't in Boston. And the concept is really simple. It's just like, we'll make it really accessible. It'll be free, and we'll get pacers for different pace groups, and just get run clubbers. We'll get someone to run 15 minutes, 16 minutes, 17 minutes, all the way up to 30 minutes. And it was pretty good. We did it 3 times, like spaced 1 month apart. I think we had about 75 people show up for each of them. It was like pretty unsanctioned, a piece of chalk down on the sidewalk, mapped out the distance with a GPS watch, like nothing fancy. Got some volunteers to come out, like really grassroots, hand timed, everything. And I just felt like that event injected a lot of energy into the community that summer. So the following year, we fanned it out a little more. I thought, like, let's bring this over to a track, give people a little bit more of a like, enclosed environment where they can focus on this. And it was even better that year. We had, probably double the amount of runners come out for that one. We branded that as, we called it $5 5K. So it wasn't free anymore.
Right.
We just charged $5. The whole thing was like, let's just cover our costs. I'm not trying to make money on this, and keep it super grassroots, still hand timed everything. Same concept. And then we had a year off, obviously, and then we came back this year and still just felt really good about this concept and started to think about it a little bit more. And we're like, what makes $5 5K really special and unique and different? And I think what it is boiled down is a lot of athletes, runners, they've done like local 5Ks and, beer runs, and maybe some of them have even, gone out and run a BQ or something like that. But a lot of people don't have access to the type of race that like an elite or a sub-elite athlete would have, where you go to the track, there's a pacer, there's music, there's an announcer, it's under the lights, so the conditions are really, really good. All those things where you're just like, you're really set up for success from like the moment you step on the starting line. That type of environment is not really available to the greater running community. So you stripped down, that is basically the concept for what's now called Twilight 5000. We have a couple community managers in New York now, and we also have a really strong relationship with Mill City Running, which is a run specialty shop in Minneapolis. So we were basically like, let's bring this concept to a few more places and just see what happens. So that's what we did. We've had 2 in New York so far, 2 in Minneapolis so far. And we actually have our second one in Boston this Saturday. So we'll be doing that. And it's a ton of fun. Like we have 6 heats usually. It's anywhere from 25 to 40 runners in a heat. We've got pacers in every single heat, just like I said. And for a lot of people, it's either their first time running a race on the track, or it's their first time running a race on the track in a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, they're set up for success, and people are walking away running faster than they ever thought they were even capable of running, because the only 5K they've ever run was, a hilly road loop, where the focus of the event was getting a free beer afterwards and a t-shirt that sits in their closet. So yeah, reading like the feedback, it's been like pretty positive, just about people that ran faster than they've run in years, or faster than they ever thought they could run, just because of the atmosphere and the environment that we set up. So that's sort of the goal. It's set up like a grassroots community event, kind of like an all-comers track meet, but has the like nuts and bolts of like what an elite or sub elite would have if you were to go to like a diamond league race or something like that. Obviously, it's not like elevated to that point, but the bare bones of what you need to run fast are there. So my dog, sorry about that.
All right.
Let me go close the door. 1 second.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Sorry about that. She should calm down in a second. She just woke up from a nap.
Cranky when she wakes up. No, I mean the that's a really cool concept, and it's just, I think you even said in the tweet something about like I'll say like elite or sub elite. Maybe I'm sub elite, but just like, I still have access. Like if I want to go run it like a collegiate meet, like I'm still fast enough. I can go run at some of the local collegiate meets and go, mid 16s or something like that, where it's like, I'm not setting the world ablaze, but like I can run with the guys and it's fine. But like, I don't think I think about the vast majority of people can't just like go and run with collegiate athletes on a track and try to run like a new PR. So
yeah,
that's,
and it's bringing it's bringing pretty much like a brand new sport to a lot of people. Like a lot of people, like maybe they've seen track on TV, maybe they ran in high school, like, and kind of know what it is, but like it's different than like doing a road race. You're locked in for 12 and a half laps, and it's just really an opportunity to push yourself in like ideal conditions. So, and the other thing too is, it's like, I like to, we work really hard on this. Like obviously Tracksmith, like we push ourselves, like we're competitive athletes. Like we do attract that committed runner who's trying to get better, but like we work really hard to make it a very welcoming and like not intimidating environment for people. Like that's why we have pacers. That's why we bring in an announcer and like make sure that the crowds are good and everyone's getting equal treatment across the board as best as we can, so that even if you're like running your first 5K ever, and you're kind of at the back of the pack, you're getting total support from the entire community to run the best that you can run. So yeah.
So how are you getting with the crowd? Is it largely going to be other runners? Are you actually getting community members to come out to watch? Like how are you building that portion of it?
Yeah, I mean, that one, it kind of depends, if you look at the photos from, the final heats in like Minneapolis or New York or Boston, you feel the crowd a little bit more. Like that's the thing that would be the hardest, I think, to like fan out across all 6 heats. Because what we do is we encourage people, like when you're done running, to hang out and spectate. Some of the venues, we can get like, food and drink permits, and people can grab a drink or a slice of pizza or whatever and hang out and like kind of soak in the environment and cheer on races, and we can bring people down the track and cheer and stuff. But yeah, I mean, people bring their friends and family. we're actively trying to get more community members involved for next year. I think, one thing that would help would just be like getting the word out a little bit sooner. With the pandemic, we kind of had to wait and hold and make sure we were going to be able to do it this summer. But yeah, I mean, the crowds are largely driven by the community. So we're trying to build these really strong, organically grown communities in all these different cities, so that like there's not a lot of work needed on our end when we drop an event down like this, because people are excited about it. Their friends are already going to it. They're following us closely. And then if they're the same thing, like we talked about not being intimidated, like if you're new, because it's in a really like friendly, organically grown community. If you're new, you show up and you feel the hope is that you feel instantly welcome, and then you're just going to keep coming back. So that's the goal, at least. So.
Well, generally, like, I get the maybe like trepidation or intimidation to, well, let's go run a 5K on the track, especially if you're unfamiliar. But also just like runners in general, I find are a pretty welcoming, warm, friendly community. Like, if you want to come out and run, we're happy to have you. Like, it doesn't matter if you're going to run, walk, or if you're out to set a world record. Like, come out, you're going to get treated pretty well, because it's something that we're passionate about. So if you're passionate about it, like, you're in. Like, that's the only qualification you need. And I guess I'll even amend that and say, you don't even need to be passionate about it. You just need to be slightly interested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's generally how it goes. Like, I don't lead as many like group runs as I used to, but I still probably lead at least one a week. And, I take pride in making sure that everyone that shows up to a run club has a good experience. And it's hard. Like, if 150 people show up for a long run, you physically cannot talk to 150 people and check in with them and make sure that they're having a good time. So in a lot of ways, you do need to like rely on that community and hope that like people are going to be inclusive and welcoming. And I think like we as like community leaders can set that tone, and it's super important that we do that, and that we make sure that that people are being friendly and welcoming. That's we've got pacers that we bring in over a 6-month period, so they know the deal, like they know how to be group leaders and to help kind of drive that energy. So, and it sucks when you get feedback from someone that's like, oh, it just wasn't for me, or I felt ignored, and that's that stuff happens, and it's tough to get that feedback, because like we all love the sport so much, right? Like we want everyone else to be immersed in it too, but it's part of the job and it's part of the challenge. And that's the type of environment that we're trying to cultivate in as many areas as we can. That's kind of like, that's my job, is like, let's spread our love of the sport very, very broadly and bring as many more people into it as we can. So
what, I mean, if it can be broken down this way, like, what does your typical day look like? Like, what do you are you just sending emails off to people? Are you out for a group? Like, what are you actually doing from day to day?
Good question. There's far from a typical day. I will say my job changed significantly during the pandemic. We obviously were not hosting group runs for a very long time, so I took much more of an active role in like the day-to-day marketing and community building, and we did a lot more planning and a lot more newsletters and trying to like engage with people on Slack and just in Strava and like virtual things. And so yeah, but now we're back to normal. So there's also that like in-person piece of it now too. So it can be a lot. I also work in a lot of different like partnerships and collabs and things for us. So generally my day is pretty much filled with meetings. So I actually still work remotely. I would say about 95% of the time. So we've heard the dog. So like I'm up, I try to get my run in the morning if I can and take the dog to the park. If not, if it's a lazy morning, I'm up, coffee and opening the laptop pretty much like first thing and diving into emails, because once the workday starts, we're pretty much in meetings, for 70 to 80% of those hours, whether they're internal or external, chatting with other people on the marketing team and the community team about ongoing projects, and things that we're planning, and also just trying to make connections and grow. And then outside of those 9 to 5 hours, or like when there's time in the day, it's working on the projects that we have ongoing, the events that we're planning, answering emails, trying to delegate to a team. That's something that's new for me. And that's kind of like, I would say that is like the Monday to Friday. And then on top of that, we have the events that we're hosting. There's a Wednesday evening workout, like I said. So, I've got some community leaders in Boston that help me with that, but oftentimes I'm there at 6:30 p.m. That's the in-person part of my job. And then a really important piece is the Sunday long run, out of the track house in Boston, where that's the run that we get anywhere from 75 to 150 people, depending on the weekend. And then we have the Twilight 5,000 events, and there's things like that happening kind of like year round. So it's definitely not your typical, like, desk job. You're expected to do one thing. And that's kind of not what I signed up for either. Like at the end of the day, Tracksmith is growing and we're doing great. Or we think we're doing great. But we're still small. We're still a startup, like there's 35 people at the company. It's a lot of zone defense. It's a lot of wearing different hats, filling in when needed. And people, I think, know that when they sign up. So it's definitely a fun thing about the job. So yeah.
Well, I can obviously relate to this, having a small business myself, and then having an assistant who you would have talked to, and that's how we got you signed up to talk to me on the podcast, and a video editor. And then hopefully my wife will come on board in the next year or so. Maybe we can get to that point. But there's something like, it's obviously challenging to wear a lot of hats, but at the same time, I find sometimes it can be fun to like be able to be nimble, right? And it seems like in your role, even if you're not in charge of the company, like you probably have some latitude in terms of like, I think this could help our objective, like, whatever Tracksmith's internal objectives are for your job. So like, hey, maybe this could help us do this, and you get a little bit of creativity to be able to do that. So it's like, talking about the Twilight 5,000, I'm like, that would be cool to do. Like now I'm like, I need to talk to my college coach, who's now the head athletic director at the college I went to, and just be like, could we do this? And he's a big track guy. He ran hurdles instead of distance, but he'll probably be down for the idea. So now I'm like thinking of that, nimble kind of creative nature. I'm like, hey, could I co-opt that idea and take it off? And
we do want to expand it to more cities. So
yeah, no, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a little more off, once we get done recording, because it would be great to have help figuring that out, and working together on putting stuff together. So, but just there's something nice about being in a small company, because you get a little more freedom. If you're in the right environment, you don't get micromanaged by somebody whose only job is to micromanage you.
Yep. I think it's a gentle balance, right? Like, I was, I think, the 9th employee, and there were 7 of us when I was hired. So like, I remember the days when we didn't have an office. We just had the store, which is 2 floors. It's a retail space and a lounge.
Mm-hmm.
And we were all just working open, like floor space in the lounge together. And so, the head of products on one side, the CEO's on the other side, and the head of marketing's right in the middle. And like, we're all just kind of tag teaming it together. And a lot of the people that were on the team then are still on the team now. So I think I'm really fortunate that I was able to come in at the time when I was, and have these relationships with all these different people at Tracksmith. And I feel comfortable enough to reach out to them cross-functionally. And at the same time, like, I think that we do a pretty good job of like keeping doors open, even though like most people are remote right now. I think, there is a comfort to be able to go out to whoever you need to at a small company and feel okay to do that. We're like a family, and we try to be really inclusive and be able to, keep those doors open. On the other side, it's like we're growing, and I think when you're wearing a lot of hats, often it can be difficult to do your job as effectively as you want to be doing it. So yeah, the other side of it is like is being focused on kind of like what your goals and objectives are, being really calculated and oriented towards, what your ultimate thing you're trying to accomplish is, and then just focusing on that and getting that done. So I know for me, that's something that I'm like constantly working on. Like doing things more impactfully, and as opposed to just like doing a lot that's like less impactful. So that's kind of like my goal right now. But for sure, like being at a small company, it's different than being at a big company. If you're at a big company, you may never be in cross-functional meetings or get to chat with other people. And I think that's one reason why I really like being at Tracksmith, because we can still do that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. Well, it's like I kind of refer to some of what you're talking about as like shiny object syndrome, where it's like there's a lot of things you can do, but what are the things that are the most effective? And like how, like, and then like self-selecting to prioritize the things that are effective. And that doesn't necessarily mean the things that you want to do, but the things that are going to like drive the most results for whatever you're after. And it's here I am on the podcast, and it's like, if I look at my company internals, I could say, well, the podcast is a waste of time. But like I have a vision and purpose for the podcast, and part of that is growing community, and not just being a company that just sells shit and tells people to buy things. It's like, no, like let me introduce you to cool people like Lou that are doing some cool stuff, and hopefully we can all learn from each other. So it's like I have that kind of challenge and balance myself sometimes. There's like I said, you focus on what works, but instead of not, which is not always what you like. But then I go, if I like it, does that mean that it's not being effective? And I have that balance where I go, is it simply an indulgence, or does it actually take a real role in what I'm trying to accomplish?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know we talked about saying yes, but sometimes you have to also say no to things and focus on the important tasks, for sure.
Yeah, I get that a lot of times, and anybody that's listening to the podcast long term will often hear me talk about random things with guests as I'm kind of thinking about them. It's like things I'd like to do, much like the Twilight 5000, which is actually probably a little more accessible for me. But I remember speaking with I'm blanking on her name, bronze medal swimmer from 2008. Oh, I can't think of her name right now. Anyway, it'll come to me. Talking about like doing a pros versus Joes swim meet, because there's that idea, and you can do the same thing with running, although it's a little more accessible. There's the idea like when the Olympics come around that people just don't have the perspective of quite how fast people are in the pool or on the track or whatever it is. And it's like, if they could actually see it somehow, have a demonstration of like, this is, average Joe swimming or running versus like, the best in the world, like how much different that is, then like maybe there'd be a more of an appreciation for the time, work, and effort that it takes to get to that level. But anyway, so I'm down my own rabbit hole here, but I often like mull about these different things on the podcast that don't come to fruition, or at least not yet. And I get excited about them because they're like personal indulgences, like having a swim meet. I don't know that would help me achieve any business objectives, but it'd be a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, with the 5,000 on the track, you got the Pacers, and I think that, did you have like sub elite, like a sub elite heat where you'd have guys going like 15, sub 15, that kind of thing?
Yeah, it builds. Yeah. I mean, uh Minneapolis had a guy run like 14:15 or something fast
Mm,
or fast like that.
yeah,
So but no, I would say like 15 minutes is probably like the, that's the barrier that is trying to get broken in the last heat, which is
yeah,
cool. Like that second year we did it in Boston, the first year we did it on the track, we had 3 guys in the same heat break 15 for the first time in their lives, and that was really special. So that's why I jump into pace too. Like it's cool to be a part of that and,
yeah.
bring someone through. So
But that, I mean, like that, like just that scenario, you've got, I assume you're running like the slower heats first to the faster heats at the end, which is pretty traditional. And then you've got people hanging around that were in the slower heats, can see that as the pace gets faster and faster and faster and we go along, it's like, I don't know, it's boring for some people, and that's fine. But there's something just like more visceral about watching somebody actually run that pace versus even when you see it on TV, like it doesn't quite translate. We can watch the Olympics, we watch the 10K, and they're going 26-minute pace, and you're like, oh, they look like they're out for a jog. Like, yeah, because they make it look so easy, but they're going ridiculously fast. And it doesn't translate quite as well as to if you were in person and watching them do that.
yep. Yeah, I mean, that's a piece of it too, is like we want to make track more accessible for people.
Yeah.
We're sharing our passions with as many people as we can, and yeah, watching a 14:35K is pretty cool. Something that a lot of people haven't seen. So
Yeah. Are you going to end up, are there thoughts to expand the events to go like 1,500 and the 5,000, or are we just sticking with the 5,000 for now?
I think probably keep it to the 5,000. It's a really accessible distance
Mm-hmm.
and relatable distance, and often we get people that are training for fall marathons, so
Mm-hmm.
it's nice to work on a little speed in the summer. So we do love the mile too, so
Yeah.
somewhere down the road we'll plan something with a mile, but I think for now, keeping the branding really strong around the event and
Yeah.
letting it scale is probably more important. So
Right. Right. That's just, I'm not trying to push you in any particular direction. It's just my brain going, what about this? What about that? And so I just had the opportunity
yeah.
to ask you about it. So I do. So you kind of rolled your eyes at me earlier when I was talking about the Olympic marathon trial qualifications. Um,
Well,
uh,
I was rolling my eyes at you saying that trying to qualify for the Olympics.
well, I mean, you know, maybe it's a pipe dream. Maybe you have a good day. You
Yeah,
know,
I
maybe you
think
have a good
about it.
day.
And I know I think about it. I mean, I've run 103 on a hilly course,
Mm-hmm.
wire to wire, so I know that there's something there. And yeah, I've got a couple of years to figure out the marathon, but yeah, you definitely you need the stars to align for sure. So, and there's
Right.
a lot of guys out there that are dedicating a significant more amount of time to their training than I am. They're doing it full time, so it's not to say that I can't go out and mix it up with those guys and maybe I'll have a day, but it's definitely something that's like pretty deep in the back of my mind at this point, I would say. So,
Yeah. No, and that's fair. That's fair. But I'm just saying that, like, even if if you're saying, okay, all I can do is go to the trials and have a go, even if I don't expect to do well, it's like I still feel like, I think you said, I don't know if we were recording when you said this, but you said, well, it's all relative, and that's true.
mhm.
um but it's all relative from other people's perspectives too, where a lot of people go, you know like that's ridiculously fast. Like I'd be thrilled if I was fast enough just to make it to the trials.
Yeah.
And so, it's like, but then trying to think about it from your perspective, like, okay, well, if that's all you can do, is it worth it? And that's only something you can decide on. Like, I can't tell you, of course it's worth it, Lou. Like, you should spend all this time training for it. No, only you can decide if it is.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm just like, I have a coworker actually, Mick, and he's run, I think 209, maybe 208, but we're competitive over every distance shorter than the marathon. And then the marathon, he kind of crushes me. But we were out at the Olympic trials in Hayward Field for work, the track trials, not the marathon trials, and just running. And like the mentality that someone like him has is like incredible. Like I wish I would pay, thousands of dollars to have that mentality. It's like, oh, I'm gonna make the team. Like I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna put it all on the line. And like that's what I'm training for from now until 2024. And like that mindset will get you to the starting line. It'll get you competitive. It'll get you up in the lead pack. My mindset is like a little bit more like, I guess, realistic and calculated. And that maybe is sometimes a bad thing in running, like you need to be a little like, you need to be feeling yourself. You need to be a little arrogant and cocky. And not to say that anyone who knows me knows that I'm definitely a little arrogant and cocky. I think it's a big reason why I've gotten to where I am. But for me, like to get on the starting line at like an Olympic trials and believe that I could make the team, I would have to probably like do something leading up to it that would make me feel like I could make the team, like I'd have to run a 209 or a 208 at some other marathon, or run like a, 101 half and finish, second or third in a tune-up race or something like that. Otherwise, it's going to be hard for me. But the way that I approach it is more like, and the reason I keep doing it, I guess, is where I'm getting at, like to answer your point. I see the possibility to get there. It's like I've run these times. Like I'm just like a couple steps from being at that level. And that is like, that's the thing that like gets you out the door in the morning. Like it gets you training hard. And like, my end all be all isn't, to make an Olympic team. Like I have other goals that, I want to accomplish before I stop running. And that's the cool thing about the sport. That is what makes it all relative. Like your goal could be to make the Olympics. It could be to win a medal at the Olympics, or it could be to run a BQ, or even simpler, to just finish a race. Like it's really cool. It's all very equally motivating, I think. And it's totally relative to whoever you are. And that is like the coolest thing about this sport. And the other cool thing about it is like, no matter how fast you are, like even if you're the fastest person in the world, like you can always set a new goal after you accomplish the one that you want. So that's what keeps people coming back like over and over and over and over again. And I think that's what makes it one of the most special sports in the world, is like you can go hit your lifelong goal and then have another one staring you right in the face. So yeah.
The thing that where, not that it happens often, but there are just sometimes days where, my high school coach would say, you get capture lightning in a bottle. Things just work out. And when you PR big. Like it's not even close. Like, so in the marathon, we're going to be talking minutes, not like, oh, I shaved 20 seconds off. It's like, okay, great. It could be the course, or it could be a little bit of wind at your back or something, but something big. And that's, I don't know, some of the, I haven't experienced it in quite some time since I transitioned to triathlon post college, and I'm just now coming back to running by itself in the last year or so. But just like having one of those big days where like everything works out and your legs are just cranking harder than you thought you could. You feel good, or maybe you feel terrible, but you're still going. I don't know. maybe it's like chasing a specter in some aspects, but I'm sure you've had days like that. And it's like, you can't rely on it. You can't rely on it to show up and just all of a sudden be there for you. But if you I feel like if you put in enough time and consistency, like one of those days will show up sooner or later.
Mhm. You know, I agree to an extent, but I also think the best runners at any level are the ones that show up with a positive mentality
Yeah.
and believe that they can run well that day, no matter what they feel like. And I think in a lot of ways, and I guess I'm just playing devil's advocate more than anything, because I do agree with you that you have those days where everything clicks.
Right. No, that's fair.
But yeah, like I think what separates like some of the best runners is just like every single time they step on the track or they step on the starting line, they believe that they're gonna run to the best of their ability that day, regardless of like what their legs feel like. Um, there, I've like come across a bunch of competitors in my life where I'm just like, I just can never beat that guy. Like he just second half of the race, he's always tougher than me. For whatever reason, he just guts it out every single time. And you know, the season that I broke for, like I felt different. I had 3 attempts and I felt differently in each one, but like I just every time I got on the starting line that day, I just told myself that I was like gonna go out and I was gonna compete and I wasn't gonna overthink it or overthink how I was feeling. I was just gonna like take it one lap at a time and just really focus on, the person in front of me and doing what I came to do. And like I think if you have that mindset and you just stay really focused like that, then it clicks. And then I think the other important piece is like, you just have to put in the work. Like if you're fit, you're fit. Like if you've done the training, if you're training for a marathon, if you've done your long runs and you've done your one workout a week consistently over 12 to 15 weeks, like you should be able to get on the starting line and feel confident. It was one of the first things my coach ever told me. I've been working with him for about 4.5 years now. And the first race he trained me for was Boston in 2017. And yeah, he was basically like, you go out, you run 90 miles a week, take one day off, do your long run on the weekend, do your 2 workouts, do your midweek long run, do a couple, push-ups and sit-ups throughout the week, do your strides, and that's it. And then you just want to be able to like get to the starting line and tell yourself on any given day, like, I've done everything that I need to do to prepare for this. I'm just going to go out and give it my best and we'll see what happens. And
Mm-hmm.
that the mentality piece of it is hard to teach,
Mm-hmm.
like some people, I always say, like, have that like killer instinct. And I've seen it click for some people. And it's just like, I honestly think that the sport is like so much more mental than we give it credit for. I know we
Mm-hmm.
know it, but but yeah, I don't think it's like a coincidence that Kipchoge wins race after race after race.
Right.
Like he knows how to prepare. He has the mental edge. So yeah. Anyway, to play devil's advocate slightly.
No, and there's always nuance, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like nothing's this way or that way, and we have, even though both have a number of years in running, we have different experiences and different mental backgrounds, different coaches, different, so many different things. So it's like even something as I said, complex yet simple as running, like there's still all the little nuance to try to like
Totally.
figure out. But as we're starting to wind down on time, Lou, there's a question I ask everybody each season. I have a different question each season. And this season, my question, which is for you today, is how do you stay motivated after failing to reach a goal?
I'm trying to think of like an example of when that happened, but it's definitely challenging. One thing that I tell a lot of the athletes that I coach is train for what excites you and what motivates you. So I think one thing, if you have like a very like specific goal that you're trying to accomplish and you don't hit it, it can be like super, super demoralizing. And I think you either need to like come out of that training cycle and say like, okay, I'm going to change it up and train for something else and switch gears a little bit, or you're still really motivated and you're going to go after it again. I think people get really like beaten down in this sport when they have a goal that they're trying to accomplish, like really, really, really badly, and they just over and over and over and over again come up short. And I think that's where people start to fall out of love with running. I think it's really important. There's a reason why I've done the mile and the marathon, and I go back and forth. I train for what is like exciting me that at the moment, because I know it's going to get me out the door every day and keep me working hard. So I think what I would tell someone who came up short of a goal is like, take a week, like think about it, think about where you came up short, do some reflection and ask yourself, like, is this something that I want to commit myself to for another 12 to 16 weeks, or is there something else that's exciting me? Because I was a miler in college and ran 408 in 2011. I never thought I'd run another mile again in my entire life, and then broke 4 in 2018. So it's like, just because you're not hitting the goal that you want to hit in the moment doesn't mean you're never going to hit it. A lot of times you just need, to change it up, or a renewed mindset, or, try something slightly differently. So yeah, I think the biggest thing is like, don't press, like, just like keep it chill, like make sure you're training for something that motivates you. Don't overthink it. And if you do all of the important things, it'll click. If you want it bad enough, it'll click. So
good answer. Lou, where can people find you, get in touch, see what you're up to, all that kind of stuff?
So I am on Strava. You can follow my training there. I'm on Instagram as well. I post there maybe twice a week. A lot about my dog and my partner, but also a lot about my running and my job as well. And I'm way less on Twitter, although I'm on Twitter every day. I just don't.
I would still say like,
yeah,
way more than me, which is basically not at all.
I have a lot of like friends and coworkers that are on Twitter and like are tweeting like several times a day. I just like, I can't.
I don't know. That's too much, man. I think you've got, I would say, so it's Louis Serafini.
Yeah, I think I'm Louis. Yeah, I'm Lou Serafini 1 on Instagram and Louis Serafini
on Twitter. Yeah,
on Twitter, I think.
So. I don't have the Instagram pulled up, but the Twitter's definitely up. I would say you've got a healthy amount of tweets. I would say that in my opinion, for what that's worth.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I haven't figured out Twitter yet. I'll say that. But I haven't figured out Instagram either. I don't
know. You're not alone, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me today and for sharing all your insights.
Yeah, thanks again for having me on. Have a good weekend, and hopefully we'll cross paths at some point.
Absolutely.